advisor to the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and he joins me now live from Kyiv. And I thank you for joining us. As we were just saying, right, civilians remain under threat. The Russian military is making gains. Are you, at this point, cutting your losses in the east in order to try and protect and shore up other areas of your country? And I'm thinking specifically even of places that really are an economic lifeline, ports like Odessa.
Right. Hi, Paula. Yes, you are absolutely right. No safe place in Ukraine anymore since February 24. And you are absolutely right. Odessa is under constant attacks coming from the Russian military forces. Even last night, there were several missiles sending from the Black Sea to Odessa region. The same has happened in several cities in the eastern part of the country. All over the country was in red yesterday night, starting, I would say, probably from from 1 a.m. of our time till probably 3 a.m. So everything was in red. People were trying to find a safe place, but you can imagine how difficult it to do in the midnight.
We can't imagine, but of course we've seen, because we've covered this so closely, how terrified civilians are right across the country, really, but obviously right now in the eastern part of the country. One thing we've also noted, and your president has noted, is the damage to your country. It's been absolutely catastrophic, and depressingly, right, it's not over yet. The price tag right now has been put at $750 billion. You guys say that you want Russian assets to pay for much of it. But I have to ask you, how realistic is that? And I'm just going to give you one example, right? Those Russian central bank assets, they're held all over the world. But already Janet Yellen, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, says, look, right now it's just not legal for the United States to take those central bank assets and to give them to Ukraine for rebuilding. So do you worry that the price tag here will continue to grow, and yet there will not be a lot of money offered up to actually try and get it done?
To tell you that I'm sharing your concern is to tell nothing. Yes, absolutely. When we heard first this statement coming from the U.S. Treasury Secretary, yes, exactly. This was our first reaction, but then we had a clarification coming from their side. And basically what has happened when we are talking about Russian central bank assets, actually they are diversifying all over the world, mainly in G7 countries. So basically in terms of the assets of the central bank, we don't see any problem. Actually, we already started the process. And for example, Canada already made adjustment to the national legislation, which allows us not only to have these assets arrested, but have these assets transferred to their purposes of Ukraine. We can use them actually for the current financial needs, and we can also use these assets in the future when we are going to rebuild our economy. The same actually already done by Ireland, and we are expecting that all the countries which are holding Russian central bank assets are going to do the same. So in terms of the Russian central bank assets, it's a little bit easier. In terms of, but of course, one more time, of course, you have to have a consensus between all big players who are actually holding these assets now, but making these adjustments to the national legislation should be okay. In terms of the private assets which are from the Russian nomenclature and which are arrested now, and actually now we are talking about $150 billion of assets, either which are already under arrest or some of these assets are just still under investigation. And we are very much sure that these assets are going to be arrested as well. Here is a little bit different story, but it doesn't mean that it's not resolved story. We do see how it can be resolved. And actually our allies are saying that yes, we can expect the results, and much faster than someone could expect.
I know that G7 countries politically are trying that, and yet legally some of them remain a little bit more skeptical because they do fear that this will end up in courts for years. But I want to get to another point there about how any kind of peace talks play into the economic angle here, right? You know, Western allies, is it realistic to expect that Russia is not going to say, look, if we want any kind of peace here, you have to lift some sanctions, and that the only way you guys are going to get on a path to, your own president says he wants this war over by the end of the year, but how do you even begin to discuss reconstruction and rebuilding if there is no peace? And Russia's saying there will be no peace if sanctions aren't lifted.
Look, we are very much sure, and our position is very much clear. We would like all these sanctions, which are already imposed on Russia, they should continue as they are now. And actually, we are calling for more sanctions. That actually a lot of expectations in terms of the package number 7. In terms of the reconstruction and development, you are absolutely right. We are in a state of war. You know, Russians are destroying our assets. Russians are killing our assets. Russians are sending missiles and rockets and all these terrible things which they are doing on our land, in our country. But it doesn't mean that we should not think about the rebuilding plan even when we are in the state of war. But also keep in mind that the autumn is coming very soon, and the winter is going to be cold, and we are not, in a warm climate. Our winters are extremely cold, and it's snowing and it's windy, and we have to think in terms of our people who lost their houses. Look, hundreds of thousands big apartment complexes were destroyed by Russians. So basically people do not have even a roof. So what we are doing and what we are calling for, we are calling at least for these kind of social programs, at least, to build houses for the people who lost their homes.
Yeah, it will be a tall order in the months to come. As you said, winter coming very, very quickly, and those cold temperatures. We're going to leave it there for now, Oleg Ustenko, but we'll continue to follow this story, especially as we follow the money trail from those Russian assets. Appreciate it.
Thank you.